All right, welcome back, everybody. Now that we got all the 24 hours of Lemons stuff behind us, we're going to get back to our regular content, and that's with some awesome hot rods, trucks, cars, and everything else in between. Today, we have Sean Bubeck. He's
Awesome.
close enough. Uh,
Yeah.
he's got an F-150. We've had a variety of trucks on the show, lots of GMs, a couple Dodges, but never a Ford. So I put some feelers out on the Facebook, and honestly, I think it was Jason Wilcox that nominated you. So
Yeah.
Jason's a good dude. So I took his advice. There's a couple other guys that were on there. I'm probably going to reach out to them in the future. But welcome to the show, Sean.
Thanks. Yeah. It's cool to be on here. I love being a part of this stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like a lot of the older Fords, the bump sides, dent sides, all those are I guess, more common for hot rod. But you chose a '95 model, which we were just talking before recording. It's like a work truck, so
It is.
I mean, it was a great choice in my mind. Why not?
You know, it depends on the day, man. Like some days I'm like, oh, I was genius for this.
Mhm.
And then other days I'm like, good Lord, why do I always have to take the path less traveled?
Mm.
The path not traveled pretty
Not traveled,
much.
right?
Yeah. I not only was I dumb enough to say I'm gonna make a truck be a race car, but then I decided I was gonna pick one that has no aftermarket support for what we do. So, let's compound our problems.
Right, right. So that all the Ford trucks have the name, dent side, bump side. What is this generation of trucks called?
They're just considered OBS. It's,
Okay,
still
OBS.
old body style, but
Mhm.
Ford, and that's why everybody, it gets kind of confusing because everybody thinks, oh, OBS, you've got the 90s Silverado kind of thing.
Mhm.
And that's, all the OBS Ford guys are like, it's an OBS Ford. They got to make sure you know that.
Right. Yeah. And you would think that some of those dates would align the years, but I don't think they necessarily do. They're close, but
Mm.
anyway. I had an 88 model, so I guess that probably falls in to that same range, huh?
Same
OBS.
frame. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
exact same frame. You can bolt those cabs right onto those frames.
Okay. Yeah. Some of the, I
So,
mean, I was, well, almost high schoolish around that age, around that time frame. So those trucks are very fond memories, and especially having owned one or two.
yeah.
One was a work truck. They're always kind of cool with the dual tank switch and things.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, it's like Ford
Yep.
couldn't come up with one big fuel tank, so let's put two small ones in there.
Yeah, which was funny because they had a 33-gallon option in the Bronco. So they were perfectly capable of doing one. And a
Mhm.
lot of guys swapped to it that
Okay.
are keeping them more stock. But obviously, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Mine was a factory dual tank short bed.
Yeah. I was famous for like running one out of fuel and then
Hmm.
running on one and not remembering if the other tank had fuel or not. So
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah.
switch. Did that one have gas? I don't remember.
Oh, dude, we went through that. And it was funny because the farm that I grew up on in Central Texas, we had a 96 460 I think it was extended cab. It's been a long time since I've seen that truck, but um so it was like the creme de la creme of F250s, for the final year,
Mm,
unless you wanted a 7.3 turbo.
mm,
And for some odd reason, my stepdad just wasn't a diesel guy, but we always had big blocks. And so we had big block parts and it just felt common. And so we had one of those, but our workhorse of the farm was a single cab long bed 86
mm.
with a 460 that had been rebuilt probably three times. And I don't even know how many times the odometer had rolled over. And so I grew up around these trucks and it never clicked. Like when I got this 95, it was an accident. I didn't want it. I was looking for a truck. And it was in the yard and nobody would make me a reasonable offer. And the funny thing is, what I wanted for it back then is considered a bargain now.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cream puff. It was under 100,000 miles, one owner. It had a 351 XLT package. And I looked, there's like four parts different between my truck and what a Lightning was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's the margin of difference is almost nothing. It always cracks me up. The Lightning guys are so hoity-toity about, oh, our trucks are so special. I'm like, your generation ain't shit. You had a glorified XLT.
Right, right. Uh, so did you buy the truck with intentions of making it a race truck?
No, and that's the funny thing. I didn't even
Hmm.
buy the damn truck.
Oh.
So I had a roommate at the time, much, much, much older than me. And I was there helping take care of her. She was a friend of the family, and
Hmm.
I was not in a position to be able to afford living on my own. And so it just worked out. I had already been doing just side work for her as
Hmm.
it was. And she had her stepfather, her mom had died like a decade before. And so she'd been taking care of her stepfather. And he was the original owner of the truck. And so he would plus over. The truck had never been over 45 miles an hour in 100,000 miles. Like,
That's
shit you not.
crazy.
And I knew the mechanic that had worked on it from the first oil change. They had the same family mechanic down the street. I mean, it just super low use truck
Hmm.
and about as perfect as it could be, aside from the fact that the guy didn't bother washing it. So they all had clear coat issues. But anyway,
Hmm.
so I didn't buy it. But basically, what happened is he went into kidney failure. We knew it was coming. He was a hoarder, and so he left a house full of stuff in his truck parked under the carport. And she was his only real heir that was in his life, and so he left everything to my roommate.
Hmm.
And so I had an older Altima at the time. In fact, it was the car I took my driving test in high school, and that's how I was getting back and forth to work to not ride a motorcycle because I've been riding a motorcycle every day back and forth to work for 3 years to save up money, just to dig myself out of debt, kind of
Right.
thing. And anyway, so when he died and all this stuff is there, I'm helping her go through all of his hoarding and crap in his house, which, oh my God, the TV shows actually, for once, don't oversell that. It's bad and gross.
Hmm.
And so for doing all that, she said, can you do anything with the truck? Because I don't have a purpose for it. And
Hmm.
I said, why don't I help you sell it? Just give me a little piece of it. I was in sales at the time. I'm always trying
Hmm.
to get my little piece of something. And so I listed it for like 3 grand. And I thought, oh, this would be easy, right? It's a
Hmm.
super desirable truck. And I had a bunch of people ask about it. And I had it parked at the curb. We lived on a busy city street at the time with a for sale sign. And I had people come by and offer me $500 all the time. And I'm like, get out of here.
No.
For this truck,
Hmm.
351, like this thing's mint. You could get in it. I just put a new battery in it. It was fully serviced, new tires. And so I'm like, no way. And it's just kind of insulting. And so fast forward, that probably went on for about a month. And then Sandy, my roommate at the time, she goes, well, can you do anything with it? Because I was starting to talk about I've been out of racing for a few years because I was broke and doing the mid 20s get your life together crap.
Hmm.
That's why I was there at that house. And I was like, I don't know. I heard about this guy, Rob McGregor in Tennessee, and he has this really cool truck that he raced. And I heard he's building another one. And it turns out he'd already built it. I was just behind the times. And I still really wasn't sold on the truck racing thing because I came up doing BMW racing with my dad. And so my goal was I got to get back in a BMW. I want, an older BMW. I'm gonna build another track car. I miss mine. And she's like, "Well, can you race a truck?" And I'm like, "No, no, you can't. They won't even let the thing on the track." And then I came across, oh my God, it's Rob and Brandy, and I can't for the life of me remember their last name, but they built a C10R,
Hmm.
which was on Speed Hunters, and I mean, it got pressed like you wouldn't believe.
Hmm.
And they put it on Detroit Speed front suspension before that was even a thing. That was God, probably a decade before Detroit Speed even had a C10 offering.
Right.
And I remember seeing that truck with the APR carbon wing and all this stuff, and I was like, "Oh hell yeah,
I'm
that's
doing it.
cool." Yeah, and then they're like, "Oh, I got 335s on the front." And I came from, being good friends with Terry Fair, who owns and operates Sportstalk Motorsports to this day. I was
Hmm.
his fabricator out of high school.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, he when him and Brian Hanchey were the AST North America, like we had ASTs on all of our BMWs and stuff. Like we were all about it. And to this day, I can call Terry any day I want, and he'll give me business advice. I love that dude. He's been so good to me. But anyway, so through all of that, I'm trying to get back in the race, and I'm seeing all this stuff, but I'm wasn't seeing the vision until I saw the C10R. And then I started digging into the truck racing, and I saw that the tracks were starting to have regulations between height and width. And I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, maybe there's something here. Um, and so then, you know, we were like, well, if the truck's not worth anything, I wasn't going to drive it to work every day. I was commuting in traffic. The truck made no sense.
Mm.
We already had a truck that was hers. So if we needed a pickup truck to move crap, whatever. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll take off some body panels. Let's just see. And so I started digging into it. We had this like little lean-to on the side of the house. Wasn't even quite as long as the truck was long. Uh, so I would like stretch out tarps when it was raining to keep stuff
Mm.
from rusting during monsoon season. I have it on video. One of these days I need to finish posting that series to YouTube. I just don't have time. I'm such a slow video editor, but
Right.
I started digging into it. And originally, not that long ago, I finally scrapped it, like years after the truck's even been running. But I originally bought S197 Mustang front subframes, and I was going to convert the spindles to double A arm by
Uh,
making this weird adapter. And I did it. I did a lot of it. I think some of the pieces are still in the top of my shop. And in realizing all of that, by that point, the engine's apart, the cab's off the frame, and like this thing's in a million pieces, and I'm super committed. I had found a Thunderbird independent rear suspension, which was, kind of like the Fox Body Cobra rear
oh yeah. Hmm.
suspension, and that everybody was swapping because that was like all the information you're finding online about this was still super old school.
Mm.
There was like three people that had done an S50 S550 IRS swap
Mm.
because those cars weren't that old. I'm
They
doing
weren't,
this in
yeah.
2018. That car came out in
Right.
2015. Like, what am I doing?
Right.
And so, like, through this process, like, I'm buying all this stuff and like I'm ending up with piles of just bad ideas in the back of the yard and winging it as I'm going. And I'm like teaching myself more and more suspension theory. Luckily for me, being around Terry, I had learned a lot,
Mm.
but you can never know too much when you're
No.
trying to engineer suspension stuff. And even when you think you know enough, there's more shit to learn. And it's like a lot of things. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not exclusive to that, but it's just in my situation. I'm like, I'm going to film this and I'm going to post and I'm going to be the next Cletus McFarland. This is going to be cool. And then I start trying to edit and I'm like, oh shit, if I'm editing, I can't build the truck. And
Yeah.
it was a nightmare, dude. And like,
Mm.
even at the time I was trying to date, I had one girlfriend told me I spent too much time on the truck. And so she broke up with me, but I was dedicated to the game, man. I was like, I'm
Mm.
gonna build this damn truck if it kills me.
Mm.
And yeah, so then I think I built the front suspension after the S197 stuff. I think I did three full version changes, like complete cutaway and start again. And I don't even know how many thousands of dollars in parts. And yeah, and then about 18 months after I started, that thing rolled into the garage for me to wire it. I wired it in a month. I literally on my lunch break, I would skip eating and wire the truck. I was so ready for it to run.
Mm. Yeah.
And it did.
So is the rear is the Thunderbird setup or is S550?
Good question. So, no, I ended up switching to the S550 because there was probably like three people at the time that had done an S550 swap, and I
Mm.
saw it and I was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
You get disc brakes. Like it was already at the point where the Thunderbird Cobra stuff, you couldn't find bushings for it. There was like one company, they were like $800 for four bushings.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, no way. This isn't going to happen.
No, the Cobra stuff's
And
probably hard to find now too.
I
Because
guess so. I still see guys trying to put them in their Fox bodies, which I guess it basically bolts in. That
it
makes
bolts
sense. It's
in,
worth the
yeah.
headache.
Mm.
But for the truck guys doing, I'm like, what are you doing? Somebody had suggested C4 Corvette stuff, but I've always hated the suspension layout for C4s.
Mm.
And so I was like, no way, not happening. And it's GM. And I was trying to challenge myself because it was all GM stuff being built at the time. You just couldn't find a Ford. Ron McGregor was the only one I had seen that built a Ford and turned left and right with it
Mm.
competitively.
Right.
Um, and I had even called his shop at once before I knew him personally. I was like, will you guys make something for this truck? He didn't know me from shit. So, it's just wild. And so I found out about the S550 stuff and I was like, I can do that. So I ordered one and I remember vividly, I came home from work early that Friday and it was getting delivered on a freight truck. And I pulled up on in my car as the freight guy pulled up. I was stoked. I helped him drag it off the truck because I didn't have a pallet jack.
Mm.
And from by the time I went to bed Sunday, I had it fully welded into the chassis.
Oh wow. Okay.
It was a
So
surprisingly simple swap for what it was.
yeah, I mean they got a Facebook group. I'm sure you've seen it. That's 550
Yes,
swap. It's
I'm in
common in
it.
the Ford trucks, and you know they. I just like I don't know. I follow all that junk. So it seems like. there are a few different ways that people are accomplishing it. They got some that's kind of just almost making brackets off the frame and it's just bolted to it. And those trucks sit a little higher, it seems like. And then they got other
Oh
ones
yeah.
that like sink
So
them into the frame. How did you? Your truck's pretty low, so I have to assume it's the latter.
yeah, so this is a I don't know if I'll call it a hot topic, but it's a topic where there's been some pretty ugly debates where I have to just stop replying to the comments because I'm like, this is going into a very negative space. And I'm trying not to be that guy.
Mm,
But there's one character in particular, I'm not going to name him, but there's certainly people that'll listen to this and they'll know who exactly I'm talking about. He's all about Viking coilovers. And then there's another company and him that are all about making brackets and oh, you can bolt it in. I don't agree with it. One, you're selling somebody a product they don't need. And from a business standpoint, if you're not actually solving a problem, I realize the idea is to build a better mousetrap, make somebody's life easier, and it's a product worth marketing. And clearly people are buying it. So,
mm,
okay, can't call their baby ugly in that sense.
right.
But from a consumer standpoint, it makes no sense to spend all this money on these brackets that yeah, a lot of times the truck is going to ride higher,
Mm,
which some people don't care about. But it sort of defeats the purpose of the swap then. Why didn't you just do, a 5 inch lowering shackle and move on with your life
mm,
at that point? Because the real advantage of the IRS, yeah, you get ride quality and all this stuff, but the real advantage is you get stupid low and you don't have to cut your bed floor. Like
right.
your truck is still completely stock up top,
Mm,
but you get all this nice modern running gear. And so um, I don't agree with the brackets. And the other reason is in the Mustangs, they have wheel hop issues. It's a known thing. And it
mm,
was even worse with the S550s than it is with the 650s. Thank God Ford learned a few things, but it's still a thing because they have these squishy ass rubber bushings. And I don't care what bushings you put in there. Now you've welded ears out of a frame, you have this lever.
mm,
So you're introducing the potential for that when one of the big advantages I feel of the Weldon, among all the things that I just pointed out, is also the back of a truck frame is designed to flex and move, right?
right.
I call them wet noodles
Mm,
or pool noodles, and they're designed that way. But when you get into lowering and handling, that's a disadvantage. And so we're always trying to find clever ways to eliminate that flex. If you weld a freaking box into the back of the frame,
yeah.
it can't twist on itself.
Right.
And so you're eliminating a lot of that detrimental flex back there by welding it in. And then I see some of the guys that like the older guys with like the bump and dent sides, because the back of those frames are identical to each other.
Okay.
They like to weld these big ass steel tubes across the top of it and shit. And I'm
I've
like,
seen that too.
guys, you don't just weld it. It is a steel subframe. And there's guys on prepped surfaces launching 4,000 pound Mustangs with over 1,000 wheel horsepower.
Yeah.
You are not going to break it on the street in your 400 horsepower car already swapped F100. You're not.
No, no. I've seen that and I was like, wow, that frame is, I mean, that's bent metal, welded. I'd
I'm
imagine
pretty
it's
sure it's
pretty heavy.
hydroformed or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is all the angularity and stuff
Yeah.
is what gives it a lot of rigidity. It's the same thing with people like when you're teaching them how to stiffen up a piece of metal and you introduce them to a bead roller or like a finger brake.
Mm,
And you take this floppy, thin piece of metal and then you put a bend in it and suddenly it's rigid. It's the same thing. So you have all this formed metal back there. If you weld it into that frame, it's not going anywhere.
no.
The only thing you need to do then is weld your coilover mount
Mm,
and you're done.
okay.
So I keep telling guys, not your frame, weld it in and move on. Cut the ears off. For the guys that want big fat drag tires, I'm like, cool, now you can do that because that ear is, freaking long.
Yeah.
Cut it off.
Chop it
It's
off.
gone.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
us, like I'm running a 315, it wouldn't even be close, but now I have a much cleaner line on my frame, right? Those ears are gone. I just have
Mm,
a little weld and then I plated it closed.
yeah. How did you determine where you wanted it in the frame for ride height?
That that's always an interesting question.
Yeah.
And to this day, I can't tell you with 110% certainty that it's where it needs to be.
Okay.
Uh, I know it seems to work pretty good. So the rule of thumb that I'd kind of seen with those was at ride height, the geometry seemed to want to be with the axle's dead level.
Level. That's what I would assume.
But that's at ride height, and people don't always factor for coilover compression. So
Mm,
there were some challenges there.
Mm,
Um, did some guesswork calculations. Pretty good. It seems to work okay for me. So
mm,
that's the way I guide people. But the biggest piece of advice I always give the truck guys with this, and I'm glad you brought this up. And I've literally drawn on my whiteboard and messaged them pictures. I have guys send me messages on Messenger, but I don't know how to set it up. I'm like, what's your front suspension? Because for most of these trucks, especially if they're going to cut and notch it into the rear, the limiting factor then is what you did up front because they're
right.
usually doing something bolt-in the front,
Mm,
whether it's Crown Vic or the older trucks have like No Limit or TCI or something like that that makes bolt-in kits. They're brilliant kits. They're going to lower the crap out of your truck. You're going to get great geometry, makes mounting all kinds of engines easier. Like do that, please
mm,
do that. And I know those owners and those guys that build it and those products. Great. And you can say solid axle if you want. The torque arm guys actually have an advantage over us IRS guys. We can get into that later. In a lot of respects, and that leads into some future plans with what I'm working on. But once you have the front set, you can figure out where its ride height is going to be. If you set your frame and make your measurements, set those axles to be level where your front set ride height.
yeah.
Make them match. And that's another reason I don't like the brackets. The brackets are designed to go one place. They're like these three holes on each side of the frame line up. This is where it goes. Well, the guy that did Slammed Crown Vic, where he jacked the front geometry, I guess he doesn't care. But
Right.
the guy that paid $5,000-6,000 for No Limit Engineering's wide ride with upgraded brakes and coilovers, like that dude's looking to get the most out of his setup.
Mm,
Get that in there, notch your frame accordingly, weld it in there. You'll know that when the truck is sitting where it needs to be at ride height, everything's happy.
yeah.
Then you can start corner balancing and tuning from there.
Yeah. That's the way I envision. I mean, look, I build cars and trucks in my head all the time.
Same.
And one is an old Ford with the S550. And I was
Mhm.
thinking what I just asked, and actually the way I figured it would be done is the way you just said it. So you need to do your
Yeah.
front suspension first.
That's always my argument. Yeah, you need
Yeah.
to know what you're doing up front because, and again, especially if you're going to notch it in the rear,
Hmm.
because
Cool.
then you know where to notch, how
Yeah.
much to notch.
Yeah. So the front, I assume the front frame worms are different than the dent side, bump side. So you had to create your own parts.
Yeah, so the OBS Ford frames basically are wider everywhere than the older trucks. Even in the rear, they're can't remember if it's 3 or 4 inches wider
Hmm.
overall, which posed some unique challenges, but nothing that couldn't be overcome. The front was where you see massive changes. So um, from 92 on, Ford, so for my truck,
Hmm.
Ford had swapped from this solid steel frame horn that actually was very reminiscent on the 80 to 91 trucks of, it was very reminiscent of the dent sides.
Okay.
Very similar shape, very similar bumper mounting structure. So in 92, they go to this crumple zone, and I call it an accordion. That's what it
Yeah.
looks like. And it's
Yeah.
literally what it's an impact zone, and
Yep.
it's supposed to crumple and do its job. In fact, mine's still there. I'm about to cut it off because I've realized how much weight
That's a lot of
is
weight.
dangling off the front of my truck.
Right.
But yeah, up front, I mean, it's still the beams, but the width of the frame rails is different. Where everything's positioned is different. It is its own flipping beast.
Hmm.
So there was nothing I could go off of because nothing fits it. And like Ford was starting to get into hydroforming frames, and so like you have these crazy pop outs for the steering box and all kinds of shit. It's a nightmare to design around for the record. Like we've 3D scanned these trucks. Is I hate it. Like there's a lot of days I'm like, why did I not front half this truck? It would
Right.
have made my life so much easier.
Yeah. Well, it drives innovation, right? When you don't take the easy way, but
I guess
innovation's
so.
a headache.
It was a big headache. Oh my God. And it's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. What so I assume you set out to design your own front suspension. Would you choose first? Did you start with pick a spindle and say these are spindles
Yeah.
I'm starting with?
So like I said, I originally was going to use S197 stuff and
Hmm.
modify and adapt, and I think it's still sitting on the shelf in my shop. But at that point, then I started looking into what Ford spindles were out there that were affordable. And the biggest issue was the frame rail height of those OBS Fords in spots of 9 inches.
Oh
It's
wow.
massive.
Yeah.
Um, and so I needed a really tall spindle with lots of tall ball joint options because I needed a really long stack height
Hmm.
basically for
Yep.
that. And so that's where I got into looking into like the F body forged spindles that were on the market
Hmm.
because I couldn't find anything, especially back in 2018. I wasn't finding a good forged spindle that would accommodate a Ford bolt pattern because I wanted to run Mustang wheels. It was something I was familiar with. I knew the bolt pattern and offsets and stuff. And I didn't want to have to change the S550 rear. So I was like, let's match the front. So I needed, something that had options for Fords as well.
Hmm.
And that's where I found the Ride Tech spindles. For $500, you got a forged spindle with a gazillion different F body brake kits
Hmm.
of all capacities
Yeah.
and lots of bearing options and hub options and bolt patterns. And so that's what I ended up going with. It brought some challenges with ball joints though, because there's not a lot of ball joints that fit that nicely.
Oh, is it? I'm not familiar with the GM products. Most of those are what, like 7-degree taper? Do you remember?
I think so. I think so. Yeah, they're pretty low slope on those. It's been a while since I've messed with it, but
Yeah.
I ended up I sheared a lower QA1 ball joint. And
Oh
not to
wow.
throw them under the bus, I'm not their biggest fan, but I don't hate them.
Hmm.
But I had one of their forged like low friction ball joints, and after a couple seasons, I was out with racing birds and had a catastrophic separation of the actual pin from the ball
Oh wow.
and it slammed my truck. Yeah, I had pictures of Rob Bird leaning over the front of my truck trying to figure out what the hell happened. Um, Valerie Pache was with me. Tom
Hmm.
and Val of Dragon Lady Racing, very dear friends of mine. Actually, Rob McGregor introduced me to them. Um, but she was with me taking a ride, and I was on a heater, dude. That was when the RT 660s first came out. I had
Hmm.
just gotten a set. I was on like lap 3 or 4.
Hmm.
Tires were hot, thing was sticking. I was dominating the truck class, and we go to huck it into a corner, and all of a sudden the front end just goes boom, and
Hmm.
I'm sliding with no steering authority. It was the craziest shit.
Ugh,
So
scary.
I ended up. I now anytime I mess with those spindles, I ream the hell out of them to what I was told is the fourth gen NASCAR lower ball joint, and it's a monster.
Okay. What brand is that one?
I actually buy off the shelf factory stuff. It cross references to something that I can't remember the generation. I have it noted at my shop, but
Hmm.
it cross references to like some 60s, I think it's 60s or 70s era Chrysler Imperial.
Oh, so it's the screw-in type.
No, it's a
Oh, it's
press in.
not.
That's the trick. There's
Hmm.
one part number that's not a screw in, it's a press in. All the others are screw in.
Okay. All right.
And funny enough, it was when I called Howe,
Hmm.
HOWE
Yeah.
Engineering, who does all the TA2 cars and stuff. I love them. I called them up because I was like, do you guys make a stronger ball joint? Like, give me a bigger, beefier pin. Like, I can't go through this again. Clearly,
Hmm.
I'm exceeding what it can do.
Right.
And one of the engineers got on the phone with me and he's like, I'm gonna give you some advice. Buy a reamer and buy this ball joint. Here's the part number. And I went down to my AutoZone because I have a commercial account.
Hmm.
Sure as hell, $30 off the shelf instead of $100 special order.
Hmm. Okay.
And damn thing's a tank. The pin size is like 60% larger in overall size.
Hmm.
It's
Okay.
massive.
All right. Yeah, my front setup, I have screw in on the upper and lower, which
Mhm.
is nice because they make extended studs for pretty much all of them. So I run an
Yeah,
extended stud on the top, and it's beefy. I want to say that stud is like an inch diameter. Oh, above the
yeah,
taper, it's huge.
that's massive. Yeah, I want to say it was like maybe 7/8, maybe if not like 3/4 on that original QA1 lower. And so
Hmm.
you can imagine all those chassis loads of a truck. You huck that thing into a corner and that ball joint's screaming for dear life.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the latest evolution that I'm about to cut off the truck actually right now is what I've been running for a couple seasons now, and I feel much better about it. It feels much more solid, and it's worked a lot better, and it's not showing any signs of slowing down. So in this newest version of suspension, I'm actually going to keep that ball joint
Okay.
and
So,
design back to it.
so when you started to design the setup, how, I don't know, I guess if you use 3D scan thing, did you design this on CAD or anything or? Just wing it.
So originally I was winging it. The
Okay.
original version of the truck that I raced for seasons, like we literally took it to the first ever Pro Touring Truck Shootout in Kentucky
Mm-hmm.
in 2020 during COVID. That was a wild trip because of that. But that was all just shit I threw together on the side yard of my house.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And there was no CAD. I had never been in a freaking CAD program outside of SketchUp, logging into the free one and going, "Oh, screw this. I'm in over my head."
Right.
I've learned a lot since then, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm very comfortable. I use Fusion 360 in my shop. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very comfortable jumping into there and drawing some stuff up. I still have a lot to learn. Patrick Schucrawl, I think he lives down in Gilbert. He does my 3D scanning. He's got a very nice scanner, and he's helped me with some engineering. Um, really good dude. He does a lot of stuff for oh my God, I can't think of the name. They're down in the Tempe area, but they do a bunch of frames
Oh, okay.
for older trucks and stuff. And he does a lot of design work, and so he's been very helpful for that. But I don't own a 3D scanner. I still consider myself maybe low level intermediate at CAD now, but at the time I built the truck, I had zero CAD. I didn't even have the program on my computer. So it
Mm-hmm.
was all a tape measure. I didn't even have a freaking laser. Like I look back and I'm like, God, a building laser would have been magical to make sure everything was in line. I didn't even have that. I was using string that I found
String.
in the closet, anything.
Hey, whatever works. So, so
Yeah, that's literally what it was about. Like, this is what I got, and I'm gonna do this, damn it.
yeah. The so when you set out did you have some certain parameters in mind, like uh certain camber or caster you wanted to get to, camber gain
Yeah,
things?
I knew that I wanted to have a pretty big range because
Mm.
I was like, I've never dialed in a truck, and I'm hitting up Terry because I'm like, you're the best suspension guy I know, and he goes, I don't know a damn thing about a truck, and he's like, we're used to McPherson strut. He's like, if you did McPherson strut, I could probably help you figure something out. But he's like, double AR, like you're
Yeah.
speaking Greek to me, man. He's like, I can't help you. And I'm
Mm.
calling Rob, and he's like, I don't know shit about those trucks. I'm not going to give you numbers because I don't want to
Mm.
mislead you. And I didn't even know the TCI guys time, which is unfortunate. I love those guys, like
Mm.
Jason putting
Yeah.
my name out there. Just amazing people. But yeah, I just knew I wanted a big range of adjustment. I knew that I wanted a decent amount of caster.
Mm.
Um, although I don't know, I might have overshot in some ways because I feel like there's times where I've introduced weight jacking like you get with too much caster. The
Mm.
drift guys love that, but I can see where you'd get diminishing returns in the autocross and road racing world,
Right.
especially autocross where you're turning real sharp at as higher rate of speed as you can. And so I knew I wanted to be around 3 degrees of camber. Well, that was easy to get because I set the arm up to where with no shims, it was like zero point 0.1 degrees positive.
Mm.
So then I could add unlimited shims and get all the damn camber I want. And
Right.
so that was one of the reasons I designed it the way I did back then. I don't know that I'm going to do that on this version. I can
Mm.
see some advantages to going the opposite way. But in over the years testing the truck, I've never run more than 3.5 degrees, and I usually actually run about 2.5.
Okay. How much
But
caster were you shooting for, or did you run?
uh, currently, I think I'm at like 7 degrees,
Okay. Yeah.
so not extreme. But like I said, I think originally I was close to 9 for a little while.
Yeah. I got eight
And
and a
that had
half.
some
I
goofy
got eight and a
jacking.
half right now, but it seems great.
And every vehicle is different, right?
Well, it
So it's
depends on the
like,
spindle, right?
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Your KPI has a big influence on that. And
Mm.
so uh there's still some stuff I probably could stand to spec out. I probably need to have Patrick come up and scan what's on the truck and go from there. But this time we're going to use the shop. I have a level ground. I've got lasers. I do have some CAD stuff. My business partner has a plasma table, so everything that's on the truck right now is hand cut.
Mm.
So we're going to introduce some actual machine cutting.
Mm.
At least aside from like the billet steering arms and stuff that I machined in my shop. But as far as flat plate cut stuff, like my new cross member is all going to be flat plate and kind of welded together to
Mm.
form the box. We want to pull some weight out of it. Like my method back when I first built the truck was thicker is better. I built a truck that weighs over 3,800 pounds.
Mm.
Now, I mean, it's still lighter than the stock, but I mean, I'm one of the heaviest vehicles in CAMT, and I'm getting waxed because of it. Because you got to motivate that amount of weight. Stopping, it's easy, but putting the power down from that heavy of a vehicle. No, I want to get some weight out of it. The class minimum for that's now I think 3180
Hmm.
for CAMT. So
Yeah.
I got a lot of weight I can drop if I really want to get stupid. So, but like my whole cradle up there is all quarter-inch wall, inch and a half square tube.
Oh, geez.
All of it. And all of the flat plate where the arms are sandwiched between and double shear and stuff, it's
Mm.
all quarter-inch mild steel. And
So,
no speed holes drilled in it, nothing. I mean, it is straight up American freaking steel, dude. That thing could drive over a minefield and come out smiling.
so you're starting from scratch then. You're cutting cross member out, all the plates, underframe,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, we're gonna cut everything because um in my flawed logic, the catalyst for this was I want to go to electric power steering, but I have a really nice Woodward NASCAR
Oh,
aluminum steering
nice.
column. Yeah. And I don't want to give that up to go to some janky ass Prius bullshit. So I actually bought a S5, yeah, S550 electric steering rack.
Hmm.
But compared to my hydraulic rack I run now, uh, the pivot points are significantly wider. So I need to move my lower control arm pickup point, well, all of my pickup points out
Hmm.
to accommodate that, which is fine. My arms are really long.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I've had to run a lot more spacer than I ever planned. So I'm up to 25 millimeters of spacer per side in the front.
Hmm.
And with the spindle offset from the Kingpin and everything, I am getting a shitload of scrub radius. And it feels like it's detrimental, like it's pushing the tire to break traction as we come into a corner. And
Hmm.
I'm having a lot of problems with the truck plowing through corners ever since I went to that.
Okay. Let's see.
And so one of the goals is I'm going to move literally everything out and I'm going to try and eliminate the spacers to try and rein my scrub radius back in. I'll still have some. I just don't think I need that much. And
Hmm.
and I think it'll fill out the defenders a little better and stuff that way too. It'll look right with the 18 by 11s that we run. So
Right.
yeah, I'm about to go to V5 or V6 of this front suspension, going into it knowing a lot more than I ever did with a lot better resources.
Right. What's the motivation behind going to electric steering?
Um, so Terry is another big influence on this, and
Hmm.
he's probably said it best. So I'm going to kind of copy his words. It's a hydraulic fluid in the hydraulic systems, and those fluids are all flammable.
Hmm.
It's actually one of the more common underhood fires you can have.
Okay.
Also, that's a small reason. The biggest factor is the Type 2 pump that you have to run on all these older motors with these retrofit kits.
Hmm.
I hate it. My pump's been pissed off, and I know I could call turn one and drop $1,000, and I could forget about this problem. But I have a swirl pot, hoses to and from the pump, hoses to and from the rack, a cooler up front. Like I have
Hmm.
all this shit on the front of my motor and an extra belt routing
Hmm.
to factor around when I can run 4 wires, connect my steering shaft,
Been
and
done.
delete all the rest of this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
So it's simplification. I'm going through the same process on my dream car build right now, try to
Hmm.
figure out how I can put electric power steering in that thing without losing the factory column.
Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. Good point. I never really thought about it.
Yeah, I'm simplifying. The alternator's got plenty of overhead. I have a big monster alternator on that thing.
Hmm.
Uh, so it's already drawing the engine down. Why keep the hydraulic pump there drawing it down too? Let the alternator take the load.
Right. Does it still have 351 in it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's still the original block, but
Okay. Cool.
it's half of it's in Texas at Horsepower Research right now.
Oh, shoot.
So here's the thing. This is an interesting topic because we all want to worry about horsepower. And I'll try and keep this as brief as I can. When I originally built that motor, I was looking for a local engine builder, and I didn't know anybody here. So I started perusing the internet, and I found this dude that was well known in the Cobras,
Hmm.
like the Cobra kit cars, original Cobra guys, build 427s and stuff out of factory blocks, refresh their 351s if they were just put one of those in it, even the 302s. This dude knew small block Fords. Turns out he's a big Ford guy. He used to drag race back in the day. His name was Brian Duffy, ran Duffy Motorsports. We found him right up the actually road from our house. Had
Hmm.
a huge machine shop behind his house. I'm like, this dude's cool. He's one of the
Hmm.
guys.
Yeah.
And so I sent it to him, and I was originally like, oh, 427 and all this shit. And he was like, actually, a 408 makes a lot more sense. And that was when I started learning about, over square bores and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And it was very very educational for me to go through that process. I also paid a lot of money for that education. And let me be clear before I say the next part. Brian Duffy's attention to detail, he's since retired from it because I tried to call him at one point and he was like, "Yeah, I'm done."
Right.
Uh, I think he was just burned out. Luckily, he referred me to another guy that does all my machine work locally if I'm impressed for that. But
Mm,
Brian had an exceptional attention to detail. Like people would bring him irreplaceable Ferrari V12 blocks, like old ones,
mm,
and he could go through meticulously get them back good to
mm.
go.
Right.
And so I felt very comfortable with that. And I'm very happy overall with the internals that he spec'd. All that being said, the reason the top half of the engine's at HPR is I've learned a lot. And I am asking a lot more of this combination, 6, 7, 8 years from the time he built it. I got the motor in 2019. We
Mm,
fired it up in spring of 2020. So it's had 6 years of just from day one, I've abused the shit out of it. But the biggest thing is from day one, like literally the first time it fired up, I thought, this cam sounds weird. And but I just accepted I don't know what I'm doing. He had a custom ground cam for it. He knows.
mm,
But one clue that I had back then that I never thought about until like 2 months ago was he kept asking me, "So you're doing an off-road truck like a pre-runner?" And I was like, "No, no, no, I'm gonna road race it."
mm.
And he kept coming back to asking me if I was gonna off-road it. So keep that in the back of your mind because I still was bothered by it. Did a couple of events. Buddy of mine, TJ, has like a heads cam LS6. And I know those trucks are lighter,
Mm,
but I could walk his ass on a road course in the corners. I mean, reel him into the point where I'm all over the brakes or I'm going to be in his cab next to him.
mm.
And then we'd get on the straight and I would initially hang with him. And then when he'd get up into the upper RPM, the damn little truck would just walk me. And I was, my buddy David Carroll, he had a heads cam LS3 C10, super basic build. We're doing highway pulls in Mexico one day
Yeah.
and he's walking away from me with a headscam LS3. And I'm like, I did not spend $18,000 in an engine to get waxed by a junkyard headscam LS3.
Right.
And so I've always felt, it's just weird. And the other thing is like, I've had so much problem with low RPM off corner traction with my truck. And I've tried everything under the sun. And it just always feels like it's running away from the tire. But on road courses, it's like I'm looking for more up top. So I called up Eric Koenig at Horsepower Research because they helped me out with the big dry sump LS going in my car.
Mm,
And I love Eric. He's a college buddy of Terry Fair's and running HPR. I've had a lot of trust with him. And now that he has his shop there and I've worked with him before, I don't call anybody else. It's Eric or nothing. And if he told me I had to wait a year, my ass would wait a year. He's
mm.
worth it. He's incredible. Um, and anyway, so I called him up and I said, Eric, here's my cam specs. Here's my engine specs. What is this? This cam spec seems weird because it's like a 116 plus 3 LSA. So really mild lobe separation angle. It's like 610 lift, which
Okay.
for a 408 stroker Windsor compared to some of the off the shelf cams I've seen, I'm like, this seems mild.
Mile.
And so Eric starts looking through all the specs of my motor. He's like, dude, you've got like good heads and like some decent pistons. Like this engine can breathe. And I'm like, I know. I even have a Holly high ram. Like this thing's got it can move some air.
Mm,
He was like, yeah. He's like, but he called the camera reverse overlap. And he
okay.
was like, this is weird. So he's like, you make really good power down low and in the mid range, don't you? And I was like, yeah, the damn thing pulls like a freight train from 2 grand.
Mm,
I was like, if I want to blow the tires off in second gear at 3,000 RPM, stand on the brake pedal. It'll do it, even with
mm,
hot race tires. And he was like, yeah. He's like, how's it feel up top? And I said, like it wants to use the air and it can't. And he goes, okay. So he sent it out to 5 guys, including some cam designers, like really, really good guys. Within an hour, all 5 of them have responded. WTF is this, Eric?
hmm.
So everybody's super confused. Well, it turns out it's a really good cam if you have a pre-runner with 40-inch tires, lots of suspension travel, and it's going to live at 4 and 5,000 RPM across the desert.
Oh, gosh.
So Eric is in the middle of designing a brand new custom cam. In that process, he's like, "What's your compression ratio? Looking at this and all this." He was like, "Your valve springs were the hot shit in the '80s." He's like, "We can pull 40 grams of valve off of this thing." I'm like, "That's a lot."
That's a lot.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, we can get a ton of weight out of your valve train. It'll be much happier revving. It'll be easier on your valves seats. I'll,
Mm,
shim all your springs to be perfect again because it's a solid roller motor and it's had
mm,
6 years of abuse."
mm.
And he's like, "And I'm gonna mill your heads." And I was like, "Whoa, I don't want to be on race gas."
Yeah,
Like we're seeing gasoline prices now. Chill, chill.
right.
And he was like, "Well, no, you have a flex fuel sensor, right?" And I said, "Yeah, it's always been wired, but at 10 and a half, my tuner said I don't need it. I'm not going to gain anything, so why bother?"
Right.
Right? Ethanol's hard on fuel systems, and I'm going to burn more of it. And I kind of don't like how E85 smells, but that's a different story. So some people love it. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Eric's like, "It's fine. You can still run it on pump gas, pull some timing out of it. Your tuner will know what to do. But now, if you want to hook up your flex fuel sensor and run E85, it'll get spicier. You're going to like it." And I love the sound of a high compression big bore
Oh
motor.
yeah.
So, I mean, he's preaching to me. And so I said, "All right, screw it." So I yanked the heads off in 5 hours one day, shipped them to Texas. And so he's working the heads over and going to do a new custom cam and go through some of the valve train, and it'll make for a happier motor. And our goal, I told him, as I said, "I want you to take power out down low, but make it linear. Like we rev it to 7,200, make it pull to seven."
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that'll help with some of the struggles I've had. I'm definitely excited to hear this thing at idle now.
What compression you gonna end up with?
Should be just a Nats ass over 11-1. So nothing crazy.
That's not too bad.
But for an iron small block Ford, I mean that's
Yeah, I guess so. I guess on an older motor, I'd be more concerned. But like
yeah.
I had the Hemi in my car, and lots of people run those things 11-1, pump
Oh yeah.
gas, just fine.
They
And
built my pump gas E85 442 cubic inch LS that HVR built me. It's
hmm,
like 12 and a half to 1. And he's like, "It'll run fine on pump gas." I'm like, "What?"
what?
But it picks up like 60 horsepower in E85. Like it's a massive
Yeah.
difference.
Whew, I wouldn't want to be the tune in that.
Oh no, I so Tony down at UMS Performance here, he's like a well-known time attack guy.
Hmm,
He's tuned some other cars for me, and that dude's a wizard. He ain't
okay.
scared. He's like, "I got this all day."
Okay. Nice. So the thing's apart. Are you gonna get it to do any racing this year?
Well, I did one or two events. We did a burnout leaving our wedding at the end of January.
Hmm.
I knew I picked the correct wife when she was like, "Let's take the truck to our Airbnb for our wedding, and you can do a burnout when we leave, and I'll wear my wedding dress in the seat, put on the harness and everything."
Nice.
I was like, "Yeah, buddy." So we have a video. I need to share it. We were waiting until we got our deposit back from the venue so we didn't get in trouble, and they didn't care. So I need to share that video. But yeah, I'm stoked. I got to do a burnout leaving my wedding in my race truck.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty proud of that.
Oh goodness. So well, I know you're over there in Phoenix, so you do a lot of the bird races, I assume.
Yeah,
Uh
yeah, I go to as many of those as I can. My business partner makes their trophies, which their trophies have kind of become nationally wanted.
they're pretty
Uh,
sweet.
I know. So yeah, they're amazing. I'm so lucky to get to work with him every day, and I consider him and his wife family as far as I'm concerned. And I did before we were in business together. That's what led us down this path. But
Mm,
um, yeah, we race with the birds as much as we can. I am an avid SCCA autocrosser here with our KMT division. We actually have one of the single largest KMT contingents in the country.
mm.
Um, so that's really fun. And I do it more for the people. I ain't winning shit in KMT in a pickup truck, but uh, it's so much fun. It's
Yeah,
so much fun.
yeah.
And so we do that. We have a couple road courses here that are fun. I'd like to get into more time attack, but between the time and expense, I just got married. I got a growing business. Like I got to be fiscally responsible, and
Mm.
$45 for a day of autocross is a shitload cheaper than a $350 entry fee in 2 days at a road course that I had to tow 10 hours to.
Yeah. Shoot, 350 is cheap. I want to say our open track days over here are like 450.
They easily, yeah, it's just an example. I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
them in excess of that, like some of the last Coda uh open time trial races that they allowed. I want to say people were paying upwards of $1,000.
Oh my gosh.
It's disgusting.
That's disgusting. Yeah. Yeah, it
I'm not in
really
that
is.
tax bracket. I'll put it that way.
No, no. Oh goodness. So obviously redoing the front suspension. You kind of
Yep.
alluded towards maybe going to torque arm.
Yeah, so that's an interesting topic. And
Mm,
I feel like such a dick because I've beat the IRS drum for so many years.
mm,
But in talking with Rob McGregor and then racing against and talking to the TCI guys, I've had my eyes open a little bit. And I'll explain it this way. Because I do so much autocross. I look at autocross as a series of miniature drag races throughout a lap, right?
mm,
You're hauling ass to this corner, diving on the brakes, hucking that thing in there, and then you want to bury as much power into the pavement as you can on your way out, right?
mm.
The problem with IRS is you can't modify the instant center. You can't tweak it trackside. It just is. And like you can with a torque arm or 4 link or 3 link or any of those. And I've been a big 3 link guy for years because if I was going to be solid axle, because you get really nice articulation, ease of adjustment, all that.
Mm,
But racing against these damn torque arm guys and seeing how low of a profile they can get and the technology that's in these things, it's mind boggling. I'm racing against guys that are on the floor on the exact same tire I'm on in cars of the same weight, putting down 700 plus wheel.
hmm.
And I'm spinning like a mofo with 500 horse in IRS when I feel like I should be crushing it, right? IRS should
Right.
be playing the tire everywhere and doing a good job.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle when the technology's right there in front of me.
Yeah.
So the other thing too is like I came from an all IRS racing background, but we were doing track days
Mm.
and big autocrosses like Lone Star BMW in Texas. Like our autocrosses were over a minute for the fast cars,
Oh wow.
which is huge.
Mm.
And just massive sites, like sites you couldn't see the end of the pavement for the site we were on. It was amazing. So I came up that way. And so IRS wasn't really a disadvantage then. And don't get me wrong, there's fast IRS cars. I'm not saying you can't be fast on it. But I'm looking at my truck and I'm like, well, it came with a solid axle. I could build a really sweet solid axle. Now the access to cambered ends, if I wanted to be that crazy,
Mm.
is a click away.
Right.
And I I feel like I actually could help Speed Tech or TCI. I know both of those guys. I could help them design a product that's very marketable for these trucks. And I would love to do that for them. So why
Mm.
not put a Ford 88 in the back, hook it up to a torque arm as that truck was built? Because I don't mind cutting the bed out of my floor now.
Yeah.
I'm going to anyway to put aluminum instead. I got to get weight out of this thing. And so if I can plant the tire that hard with more power, I'm going to win more. I'm going to do better at autocross. These torque arm guys, I'm having fits beating them. If you can't beat them, join them.
Right. I watch how good they're doing over there, and look, they're all good drivers, and probably way better than I'll ever
Yeah.
be. But I'd be lying if I hadn't laid onto my car a few times trying to figure out how to do a torque arm on it. I don't think it'd be that hard, to
Yeah.
be honest with you.
No,
So,
that's the thing. It's a really easy install. You need the lower links like a 3 link has,
mm,
and then hook up the torque arm and set all your shit.
yeah. There's a couple companies that make 4 bars for my car, but my understanding is the angles are terrible. So, but it's like,
It starts to bind and stuff. Yeah, there's some disadvantages.
yeah, but I'm like, half of the kit is great, like the lowers and the coilover
Yeah.
mounts and
Yeah.
all that. I'm like, that's great.
Yep.
I just don't need the tops, and I could just
Right.
make the R, you know.
I know. I
So
know.
just who knows if they would sell a half a kit though, right?
You'd be surprised sometimes. But the other thing about it too is like when I built the truck, it was my only race car. So I was like, I want an IRS race car. Now that I'm finally getting to build my dream car, well, no, you can't do a solid axle in the car, nor would I. It's gonna be independent. So now I'm gonna have two different flavors. Now I'm like, maybe I need to make the trick like more different again
Mm,
in
yeah,
that sense. And then I get to play with two different things, right? Then driving the car is a truly different experience from driving the truck.
yeah. So nice. I love it.
Yeah.
What's the stream car?
So the chassis is a 2006 BMW 330 Ci. Um,
Okay.
I didn't want to spend the money on an M3 chassis. And actually, Terry at Vorslog just recently did a video saying how that's silly if you're going to cut it up anyway. And that's what I'm doing. Uh, so what it originated from is my dad and I watched American Le Mans series back when it was the shit in the early
Mm,
2000s. And so, in '01, BMW comes to America. We had the E46 and 3. I was already in love with that car. My uncle took Munich delivery of one. To me, to this day, it's the sexiest mass-produced coupe I've ever seen. I just love the lines of that car, and it
mm,
fits my body well. I'm very comfortable in that chassis,
mm.
and I've worked on a bunch of them stuff. Well, watching them with a wide body V8 power, spitting flames, just demolishing Porsche in '01 to the point where Porsche went back to them and threw a fit and got that car banned. I was like, that's the sickest shit ever.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you have a flame spit V8 and a wide body? Hell yeah. And then they make a video game. And of course, it has a cult following to this day. A good friend of mine, Andre, actually built a replica car that was very famous a few years ago. And he actually lived here in Phoenix for a while. It's kind of funny, even though he's from Jersey. But anyway, so seeing all that, and then Terry created the LS swapped BMWs. He did the world's first E36. When I owned an E36, that was my dream. I'm going to have a V8 daily driver E36. Unfortunately, years ago, I had to sell that car. It pained me. I would kill to have it back today. But I never stopped wanting an E46. And so then when he released this kit for the LS swapped E46, I'm like, he's speaking to me. And so it took me a few years to be able to save up
Mm,
and I bought a chassis. But the problem is, I had the money set aside. I had ordered the motor, HVR was building it, and then I had the chance to start a business to go full time. So
mm,
I put all those parts. I have a full carbon AJ Hartman roof sitting there. I'd ordered all new interior panels to match from Munich. They're sitting in the top of my shop. I've had them since 2020.
mm,
And I stopped because I said, I can plow another 30 grand in this car, or I can take this seed money and I can chase my business dream. And if I do it right in a few years, I'll get to build that
Let's
car
build a
with the
car.
money I make.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to come back to me. So,
Mm,
like, I sold my dream motorcycle that I owned at the time. I waited for years and bought that. I threw everything at this dream, and fortunately, in a funny way, it wasn't in manufacturing like I thought. We ended up starting a construction company, so I didn't have to go back to a desk. But it's doing well enough that I'm now able to build that car, and so I'm doing a wide body, massive dry sump LS E46, but I'm doing it like you would do for a very competitive Optima series car with, full interior, leaving the Harman Kardon stereo that came in the car. But race seats, big
mm.
nasty wide body, 315s all the way around, big wing.
Nice.
I want you to look at the outside of that car and go, damn, that thing is nasty. I want
Mm.
you to sit inside of it and go, oh, nice BMW track car. And then I want you to start it up and it scares the children.
Right. So I think it was either January, February autocross. I was pulling in, going through the gates, and there was an E46 in front of me,
Mhm.
two-door sedan,
Yep.
clean looking car. We gotta sign the paper or whatever. He pulls off, and I'm like, that is not a BMW motor
hmm
in that car.
hmm
So I later see it's a LS6 T56 swap car, full interior AC, everything's. It looks like the motor was born in there. This kid did a
Yeah,
phenomenal job on this car. Um, it
they
was
fit really
fast on the
well.
autocross too. He's like, I hardly ever autocrossed ever, but he was hauling on there. So I was, and our Lemon's car was an E46 too. So
There
uh,
you go.
I was it's four-door car, but
That's okay.
I was pretty impressed with how good, I mean, all stock suspension,
Sure.
impressed
Mine
how,
won't be, but yeah.
yeah, it was really good on the road course for being stock. Uh,
Yeah, there's such a balanced chassis. I mean, you're giving yourself arguably one of the best fiscally attainable chassis there is.
mm,
And
yeah,
then you take a motor that is a powerhouse
yeah,
and it's lighter actually than the factory straight six
I
by a little
bet
bit.
that thing's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, and it fits well. It comes with its gremlins, obviously, of a motor
It-
swap, but when you get
mm,
it right,
mm.
when you get it right, God, it's perfection. And so, yeah, I my original dream for that car was back in, 2002, 2003. Seeing the LS swap BMWs over the years just solidified in my mind. And so now getting the chance to do one, I'm like, oh God, I can't wait. It's all I think about every day.
Yeah, I don't. Has anybody ever showed up at Optima with something like that?
I'm sure they have. I
Yeah,
mean, most of my world's been the CAMT cars for the past
Yeah.
few years, so
Yeah.
that's more so what I've been focused on. But I'm sure somebody has.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm excited to finally have a car where I could call somebody and get suspension tips and data.
Right. You call
Shit
Terry.
actually bolt on. I don't have to fabricate and design everything.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and then to just I'm leaving AC and everything. And so to be able to kick on the stereo and the AC and roll up the windows and just
Mhm.
bomb down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's
still going to
cool.
be a rowdy car, but I can cruise it, or I can take my wife to dinner in it. So
Yeah.
I'm stoked for that.
Well, I mean, even 700 horsepower LS is usually pretty tame cruising, you know?
Totally drivable. Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
go down the highway.
Yeah. It's not like if it was an old, 351 Ford 700 horsepower, you'd have to have, 15 to 1 compression and, these big,
I
huge
know.
heads that cost 10 grand.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing is, I'll get my two flavors, right? The truck is the radical. Now it has AC, but we don't use it.
Mm,
I put a
cool.
vintage air system in it, but it's just so rowdy with the cage and stuff. And so the car is going to be much more mild internally and
Right.
more refined because of the access to the type of parts for it. And I'm very excited to do a car with that level of fit and finish where everything is right.
Yeah. That's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
I was never really a BMW fan until I drove this one for a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And it
But
was
they
stock.
work.
And
It's such a balanced chassis.
it really is. I was like, this would be cool if it had like 2 or 300 more horsepower, you
That's what
know?
everybody says.
Yeah. It was an automatic too, which made it even slower.
Oh God, that's
So
rough.
you had going into the turns, as soon as you got off the brake, you just floor it. And then usually by
Yeah.
the time it would kick down, it would start accelerating.
Oh God.
Right. If you timed it right, you could get to apex where you were starting to accelerate again.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
But
So, but yeah, no, they're really cool cars. They're super affordable. I think mine was a running driving 6-speed car, and I think I paid 4 grand for it.
okay. Shoot.
So
Yeah, that's not
they're
bad.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's and I sold the engine, sold the transmission. So
Mm,
um
sweet.
yeah, I'm excited. But I'm never gonna quit on the truck. I
Yeah.
That'll always be there.
Yeah. Well, I love it. It's certainly something different. I mean, everybody that listens to the show knows I like things that are different that makes people get creative and design things to try and make it work. And, I mean, there's different people. Some people like the easy button. They go buy the Corvette and do good. Then they have people that buy 96 trucks, Ford trucks, and say, I'm gonna make this
You
go
know,
fast.
after you do that though, you start to understand why you buy a Corvette and bolt shit on.
Yeah, but then you got to think about the knowledge you've gained from everything you've done,
I have. Yeah.
which you wouldn't have gotten if you had some easy button.
Well, and
So,
it's introduced me to like a list so long we don't have time to go through it of just the most incredible people.
mm,
To get FaceTime with them of any capacity, I feel just beyond lucky for. And ironically, my wife was never into racing. She doesn't do loud noises. And
yeah,
the truck is something we do.
mm,
I have GoPro videos of her riding it. You can hear her hollering and having the best time. She gets motion sick in a normal car. Dude,
yeah.
she's cheering through slaloms like when I'm hitting it hard, and she's like, "Whoa, go, baby, go." And I'm like, it's like it was meant to be. And
Yeah,
so,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
the truck is the happiest accident that ever happened to me in that sense. It was one of the things that pushed me into business. Even if that particular business didn't ended up being the thing that, I did the best at,
Mm.
it just it's such a weird thing how such a money pit, stupid hobby financially led me to the most incredible relationships in my life. Dude, if nothing else ever happened with that truck again, if it sat on a lift for the rest of its life, I'll forever be thankful for it for that.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So, uh, it looks like we've gone a little long here, but we can wrap it
Yes.
up. Um,
Okay.
where can people find you on the social medias?
Best place is going to be looking up InnovaSpeed, INNOVASPEED. That's Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube, but don't look too closely at the dates on that because 12 to 14 hours of editing a video ain't something I got time for right now.
No, there's no fun in
Uh,
doing that.
but I promise I'll get back to posting at it at some point. But yeah, I need to post more on Instagram. There's a lot of updates I want to share, especially getting into some truck mods and building the car. And so I'll be sharing stuff. And yeah, I love talking to people about race cars. So definitely come find me there.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the updates as you redo things. And it's been awesome talking to you. Appreciate you being
Absolutely.
on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure.
All right. Later, everybody.